Well, good morning everybody. Chaplain Joe back at you here again. We're going to keep talking about the topic of mastering your mouth. Before I continue, I just want to give a shout out to Rick Pena. I was introduced to the series Mastering Your Mouth and Master Your Mind and Master Your Methods back in 2004. So we're going to continue on with that. So Rick Pena actually gave me this series a long time ago, and we're going to continue to go with that Mastering Your Mind, this part of the series. And we're going to talk about 2 Corinthians 10 verses 4 and 5. This is a continuation of last week's message. Remember we talked about know yourself and know your enemy? Well, today we're going to be talking about casting down sinful thoughts. And it reads, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought into the obedience of Christ." Now, I love what it says there because we're talking about the pulling down of strongholds. And one of the definitions of a stronghold is a fortified city, a castle, a fortress, to build up edifice that is designed to keep the people in and also to keep strangers out. So saints, that's what we got to realize. Well, first of all, it says, we cast down imagination. This is not God's job. This is our job, okay? And one thing that we have to make sure that we renew our mind and master our mind. Because if we don't, like we've been talking about for months, if we give the devil, 5 seconds of our time or of our mind, he'll take 5 minutes of our life, okay? So when we have an impure thought or we have, improper thoughts or unrighteous thoughts, we have to cast them down. Because every action we've ever done started with a thought, okay? If we have a bad thought, we'll meditate on it long enough and eventually we'll have a bad action. So we have to cast it down because our bad thoughts will lead to bad actions. And we have to make sure that we don't cast it down. That's why a lot of people are addicted today. It all started with a thought, whether it's pornography or drug addiction or alcohol addiction or whatever addiction you may be in, bad financial decisions or whatever. At one time or another, it all started with a thought. That's what happens when we have bad thoughts. Is when we have bad thoughts, it becomes a stronghold. It becomes a fortified city, not only to keep the bad people out, but also it entraps us and keeps us in. Okay, so that's why we have to make sure that we ensure that we have good thoughts as opposed to bad thoughts. And again, this is our job. It's not God's job, it's ours. And we do that by reading the Word of God, studying the Word of God, praising and worshiping God, so we're filling our mind with good thoughts as opposed to bad. Because here's the blessing of it, is this is a fortified city, and that could be a blessing for good, which we'll talk about next week. So it keeps us in the good blessings and keeps the bad stuff out. But today we're just going to focus on the bad part of the fortified city. If we have bad thoughts, yeah, it'll keep the bad out and also keep the good from coming in, but it'll keep us entrapped in the bad, okay? So next week we'll talk about the fortified city of blessing, but today we're going to talk about the fortified city of sin. So my question for you is, are you casting down the sinful thoughts in your life to make sure you don't have sinful actions? So with that, be blessed and God bless.